Okay, for this video, we're going to be looking at the second set of tutorials, diving into SpaPy and really using it for spatial operations. Pretty exciting. Okay, I'm on the spapy.org website, and I'm actually going to go to Getting Started first because I want to get the test files that come with SpaPy. So they're down here in Running SpaPy Tests. There's the test file library. And then in my GSP 318 folder, I want to create a new folder for Lab 2. And I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop the SpaPy test folder into there. Now, this is important. If you just go ahead, as I sometimes do, and say extract to here, it's not going to be what we want. It's got this parentheses 4 thing on it, and it's actually got another folder down here, and this is what we actually want. And we want that to be in this folder. Now, I also found out that if I just go ahead and go to extract to here, it will actually do exactly what I wanted. But regardless, what we're looking to have is our SpaPy test folder here in our lab folder. And if you go inside of here, you'll see there's some data associated with different areas. There's a temp folder. That's where our files will go after we create them. And then there's a series of tests for SpaPy, which you may or may not have run. Feel free to run them. It'll give you a feel for what SpaPy does. You don't need to do them with a virtual machine. They should work. They don't. That's a different problem. But if you install the SpaPy at home, you will definitely want to run these tests to make sure everything is working well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I've got Wing over here, and I need to go ahead and create a new file. And then if I go back to the website, I'll want to go to the first vector tutorial. Now, on the website, you'll see if you click on the vector tutorials link, it will take you to a list of all the vector tutorials, or we can just pick them from the menu. Either way should work. So here's a list of all the SpaPy libraries. There's quite a few. You won't be using all of them right away, but what I do is I just get used to taking and copying and pasting this block of includes into the top of my file. And then I'll go ahead and run that. Okay? This dialog will come up every time unless you uncheck this box, and then it'll go ahead and ask us if we want to save it. I don't recommend unchecking that one. Just go ahead and save selected, and then we go to our GSP 318 Lab 2, and this would be my first tutorial, and make sure it runs. Now, it's not actually going to do anything when it runs. You're going to see it. If you push the green arrow, it's going to run. Go away. Okay, and then it's just going to run for a bit, and then it's going to come back, hopefully without any errors. And that's actually a good thing. We haven't printed anything out. We haven't done anything. You might want to just go ahead and print a done message. That way you can see that, yes, it actually did something. Over here in debug.io, yep, okay, yeah, it's done. We haven't done anything except just import all these libraries. That's kind of important because we want to make sure everything is working. And you'll see that SpaPy not only has a fair number of libraries, but it also sits on top of a lot of open source libraries. Okay, so now if we go back to the website, we see that our first thing to copy and paste is a bunch of file paths. So these are file paths to our files that came with the tests. And we'll go ahead and use these just to make it easier. And notice I'm putting inline comments even for myself, so I know these are file paths. Okay, and you'll see we've got some countries, and we've got a box, and some other stuff in here just to play with as we go through these tutorials. Whoops. Okay, so the first thing to do is just to go ahead and show some data. In this case, shapefile. And you'll see that one of the features of SpaPy is it makes it really easy to just display spatial data in a window. There it is. Okay, so this is a section of the parcel layer for Humboldt County, I believe, and we've just thrown it into a window. That takes a little bit of code, so we've just gone ahead and written the code to do that in one line. And you can actually put a whole bunch of different things into here, shapefile or raster file, different things, and it will attempt to then put them in a window and show them to you. Okay, so that's very handy for debugging as well. I use it all the time. Now we can also change the size of that window. So we can make it bigger or smaller. Now it's going to do the first one. It's going to show the first one. Then it's going to do the second one. So there's our first window. And then you can see the second one's a little different size. And you can make them any size you want. But also notice we really don't need two now. We really just need the one. So I can just go ahead and comment out a line of code, run this again, and now it's just going to show us the smaller version of the window. And being able to comment out lines like this is really important because you can write code, test it, put in a lot of debugging information, and then just comment that debugging information out again when you don't need it anymore. Okay, so on to the next one. And you can either just click these links on the bottom or go up to the menu or the table of contents to move on to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and load a data set. So right now we've been directly showing and printing shapefiles directly from a file. A data set is a shapefile that's been loaded into RAM, into the computer, so that it's faster to access. So if I go ahead and run this, you'll see that it just goes ahead and creates a new vector data set. And then it loads the zoning. I guess that's a zoning layer from Humboldt County. And again, doesn't actually do anything that we can see, but the code worked in the background. All right. So now what we can do is we can go into that file and we can print out information about that shapefile or data set. Shapefile is a specific type of data set, but a raster or vector, points, polygons could all be referred to as data sets. All right, we find out it's type polygon. Similarly, there's a whole bunch of other information we can get from these files. And I can just go ahead and, again, copy and paste. And now we can see that we've not only got the type, but we've got the coordinate reference system. Coordinate reference systems, typically with SPA-PI, it will give you an EPSG number. European Petroleum Standards Group, we'll talk about those. They're a group that standardizes coordinate systems and gives them numbers, which are a very handy way to be able to specify what coordinate reference system or spatial reference system you want to work in. There's a number of features, lots of features, lots of zoning areas, and then we also get the bounds. Okay? And we'll talk more about all these things in the coming weeks. Okay, so whoops, back to the SPA-PI website. Let's go ahead and find out how many attributes there are in the file. And notice I'm just adding a few lines at a time, running it to make sure it works, and also to take a look, make sure I know what's going on with my code. Okay. Now, like with a shapefile, you can just say show on a data set that's loaded into RAM, and it will go ahead and show it to you. Does all of our printing out our information, and then shows us the shapefile. All right, and I think that's the end of that tutorial. Oh, just to then say again, now that we're going to move on and do some other stuff, we can just comment that out again.